Dogo, si tofauti sana na kile ambacho tumeangazia asubuhi ya leo. Tumeangazia triggers za mental health, na sasa leo tunataka kuona, kwa sababu tumekuwa na visa vingi sana vya mauaji, na si kwamba watu wanauawa. Nazungumzia yale mauaji ambayo mtu amejitoa uhai. Nazungumzia yale mauaji ambayo mtu amefika mahali akakata tamaa, akaamua kwamba mimi maisha yangu yanakamilikia hapa. Na tumeona mambo kama haya yakitendeka, si kwa watu wa umri mdogo tu, si kwa watu ambao ni wanarika ama watu wa makamu, hapana, hata wazee. Tumeona hata mtu wa miaka 80 unashangaa huyu jamaa ameishi miaka mingi hivi, kunaendaje inafika mahali anajitoa uhai. Haya ndio ambayo tunataka kuangazia. How do we prevent this? Kwa sababu ni visa vipo, na ukiangalia statistics pia zinaonyesha kwamba visa hivyo vimekuwa vikiongezeka katika miaka ya hivi karibuni. So ni vipi tutaweza kuzuia? Lakini hata kabla hatujaangazia jinsi ya kuweza kuzuia, ni kipi ambacho kinachangia, kinasukuma mtu afike katika kile kitengo cha kusema kwamba mimi nataka kujitoa uhai? Zungumza nasi kwa 22914, samahani, 22914. Unaweza tufuata kwa Facebook page yetu Mwangaza TV, unaweza tufuata vile vile kwa YouTube channel yetu Mwangaza TV Kenya. Unaweza enda kwa search engine yako Mozilla, Google, wherever, ukatype pale Go Live Africa, utatupata. Tuko live pale 24/7, na niko na mwanasaikolojia ambaye pia ni mshauri, na pia yeye ni chaplain, yani ambaye amedhibitishwa, ana cheti kwamba yeye kazi yake ni kushughulikia masuala kama hayale. Naye anaitwa KINYANJUI, yuko ndani ya nyumba na anatuongoza katika haya masuala. Once again, karibu sana, kwa pamoja tuweze kuingia katika mazungumzo yetu asubuhi ya leo, na karibu sana tena sana Mary ndani ya nyumba.
Asanti sana Sele.
Yes.
Ninashukuru.
Karibu sana. Kwa ajili ya yule ambaye hakujui, labda tuambie Mary ni nani?
Asanti. Kwa jina naitwa Mary Muthoni. I'm a psychologist counselor and a certified chaplain. I'm also the founder of Hope and Connect Mental Wellness.
Yes.
And I'm also a business lady.
All right.
That aside, I am a wife. Yes. I'm married to one man. And I'm a mother of 2 boys.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. So nataka tuangazie hili swala. Ndio najua mazungumzo yetu leo tuko tunataka kuongelea jinsi ya kuweza kuzuia, watu kujitoa uhai, watu kujitia kitanzi. Lakini let's talk about suicide. When we talk of suicide, take us through.
Good. When we talk about suicide, I'll first start by defining what is suicide, ili msikilizaji wetu akaweze kuelewa tunaongelelea jambo lipi. Suicide is an intentional action to end one's life. Ile ambalo nimeamua intentionally, nataka kujitoa uhai. That is what we call suicide. So it is intentional and you do it on yourself such that you end your life. Why do people commit suicide more often than not?
Yes.
Ni kwa sababu anataka kupotelea uchungu fulani. It is a way of anatoroka. It is a way of like running away from a pain or a stressor, something that is really stressing and overwhelming you. But then the reason why it's very important to have this conversation is because uwezi torokea lile jambo kwa kujitoa uhai. Kwa sababu that will mean it is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Ni jambo
kile ambacho ulikuwa unapitia kilikuwa kitu ambacho kina suluhisho.
Ndio. Sasa wakati mtu ameamua kujitoa uhai, inamaanisha amejipatia a permanent way of running away from that issue. So it's not an ideal way of really solving a problem. But when someone is in that point of amekuwa overwhelmed, amelemewa na ule mzigo, anaona the only way out is let me take life out of myself. And therefore that is why it's very important to have these conversations. And we are grateful for platforms like Mwangaza TV, which with the good work that you're doing to offer such platform to create this awareness. And it is very important that it is happening in this month of September.
Yes.
Because nationally September is recognized as a Suicide
yes.
Awareness and Prevention Month.
Yes.
But even as we have this discussion, it's very important to say that this is a very challenging topic we are talking about, but a very important conversation that we need to have. Why do I say it is a challenging conversation? Because when we're having such conversations, it may revive memories in someone who has either lost a loved one through suicide.
Yes.
Number 2, someone who is in the process of maybe those thoughts. Ako na yale mawazo ya kujicommit suicide.
Yes.
Mwingine ndio sasa anakumbuka rafiki yangu fulani, anakumbuka a loved ones that they lost or something like that. Now the gap. Some may not even be a memory of a loved one who passed on. Not even ako katika ile hali ya kutaka kujitoa uhai, lakini kuna gap, kuna pengo liliachwa na mtu ambaye alicommit suicide. So it is a very challenging conversation to have, and even as we have it, it's good to put it across to our viewer that it's a challenging conversation, yet very important for us to have.
I like that.
22914
na pia kwa Facebook page yetu Mwangaza TV, tuko ndani ya nyumba. Tunataka kuchambua na kuelewa kiundani jinsi ya kuweza kuzuia visa ama kupunguza visa vya wale wanaojitoa uhai, visa vya wale ambao wanafika mahali wanatafuta suluhisho la haraka la kuweza kutuliza mioyo yao ambayo ina uchungu, mioyo ambayo inaumia, suluhisho la kuweza kujaza pengo ambalo wanahisi ndani yao. Na ndio tumeanza tu mazungumzo na Mary KINYANJUI ambaye ni mwanasaikolojia, pia yeye ni mshauri katika masuala kama haya. Na sasa nataka tuweze kuangalia, kwa sababu ndio mimi nifike pale ambapo naangalia nasema I really want to commit suicide, you know, I want to take the life, nataka kufanya hii. What are the triggers? Vitu ambavyo vinachangia ni vigani?
Good. Hilo ni swali muhimu sana, because it's the starting point of any person to want to commit suicide. But before maybe I answer that question, Sele, I would like to just put it across to the viewer about some myths and misconceptions that people have about suicide. Mara utasikia kuna watu hawataki kuongelelea hili jambo because they say ukianza kuongea about suicide ni kama unapea mtu
an option.
Yes. Ama ndio unatia moto ule lile wazo lake want to commit suicide. There are also people who say suicide is for a certain age group. Ilo ni za wale walio miaka fulani, ama wale waliozeeka. Mtoto mdogo hawezi akajitia kitanzi. But out of research and experiences, we've come to realize that suicide, that's a myth, or that's a misconception, because suicide does not choose age. Anyone of any age is a potential candidate to these thoughts and to that force wanting to reckon to put someone towards committing suicide. So that is very important to put it across to our viewer, even as we go to the triggers.
Okay.
So there are many triggers for suicide, and quite a number. There are quite a number and very diverse. Again, it depends with someone's circumstance, but I will highlight a few, which include: 1, mental disorders. In the times we are living in, there are so many stressors. This is a conversation we ever had in one of our shows. There are many stressors ambazo zinachangia mental disorders ama mental issues. Unapata depression, issues to do with anxiety. Ikikuwa too much and someone is not able to handle, that is a number 1 trigger of someone wanting to just have a lasting solution to that problem. But like we have said, it may not be a good option to go to that direction. But the reason why mental disorders or mental issues is a trigger, it's because when someone is going through a mental condition, they are not thinking rationally. We say in a mental condition, someone is having irrational moods, irrational feelings, and irrational behavior. That is to mean huyo mtu is not viewing this item the way you will view. It is a sickness, so they are not in their right mind. And therefore, when they are really pushed to the corner, they are overwhelmed. Some resort to going the direction of the suicide so as to overcome that pain. The second trigger, especially in our current setting, it is the living conditions.
Yes.
Life has become economically difficult, we can say, the societal pressures. And so someone may survive for a stipulated duration of time, but then it gets to a point where we are not able to survive anymore, given the factors that we are human. So if that person does not get any help or any support, they end up looking for other ways of how to elevate that pain. Remember we said suicide, it is an attempt, unajaribu kupotelea uchungu.
Yes.
So lile jambo la kujaribu kupotelea uchungu, you find that there are those thoughts that will come and force someone to want to commit suicide. Another thing is employment and the working space environment. And I think, Sele, this has become quite a concern in our society. You find that people are working under very hostile working conditions, and they are not able to speak up. They are not able to share with anyone. Like case in point of the doctor that we had last week.
Yes. Yeah.
So you find
a very young soul.
A very young, energetic and all educated young lady, but because of the environment and the working conditions, the employment terms, and yet you really need to go to work because you really need this job. You must. That is
you must.
You must. So you find that when they are not able to talk to anyone, then it becomes too much for someone to handle, and probably now they end up trying to run away from that pain, from that challenging situation. Another trigger is loss of a loved one. When there is such a huge gap that is not occupied, you'll find someone will try to run away from that pain, or even now try to reach out to where they went to. So you are like, I'm better off not nikiwa huko namfuata. So in case of a loss, when someone is grieving, because we all grieve differently, it is very important to understand that grieving person, what is their grieving way. Because if they were very connected to a loved one who has just abruptly left them, then they tend to have those push and pull to want to also follow that person, especially if they were very close and very tight. Another thing also very paramount in our culture at the moment is the media influence. The media influence, you people. You people, and the information being relayed out there through media stations, the like professional stations as well, but we also have the social media aspect, because it's creating a lot of pressure, especially on our young people. So you'll find someone now starting to think, oh, so and so is like as if they are making it. I put it in quotes. And so a young person, especially our young people, they are in that space of this and this is making it and me, I'm not making it. And yet sometimes it's an illusion. It's a false picture being portrayed out there. Fake life being portrayed out there. And therefore when someone starts to feel now that feeling of I am not making it, I am losing it, there develops hopelessness in their lives, and so they end up feeling they are not worth. That feeling of low self-worth and all that really affects them. Lastly, it is our culture and our belief, because suicide has been termed as illegal. Actually, it's illegal. It's illegal in our land. And so even when someone is going through those challenging moments, they're not able to speak about it because of the stigma. So you'll find someone is going through a difficult space, a difficult, challenging time, but they're not able to talk about it because of how will they be taken. You find even a family, like now in our counseling space, you find a family is aware that they have a loved one who is facing some challenges, but they're not able to come up and speak about it because of the stigma that is associated with it. For us, we say that having suicidal thoughts is not illegal. Having those thoughts coming to someone, it is not illegal. Attempting suicide, the action of attempting, according to our penal code, that is what is illegal. But now the misunderstanding around it has caused people to really pull off, back off, and so many things are not even coming up into the light to be spoken about.
Someone said kwamba watu wengi wenye hujitoa uhai huwa wanafanya hivyo as a way of punishing the other person. Kwa mfano mimi nikikosewa na mume wangu, so nasema ameniacha, amefanya ABCD, wacha nijiue ndio tuone venye atakuwa. Let's talk about that. Is it something that can be authenticated?
Indeed it is true. People will feel as if I take away my life, if I commit suicide, I'm punishing the other person. But you see, that is like heaping coal on my head, fire, hot fire, but I expect you sele, wewe ndio utachomeka. So it is a fallacy, it is an illusion, because definitely the pain is within you. But not to dispute it, because life is precious.
True.
Once you die, once someone commits suicide and they are no more, they are dead, they are gone, it leaves a gap. It will definitely leave a gap within their loved ones or within the community. The people who have been left behind, they will fill the gap, but not necessarily the pain that the person has committed suicide ever felt. So it's an illusion. It's an imaginary way that the other person will feel your pain. Will feel your pain. It's just like, also just to mention, we have a lot of cases of self-harm. When someone is by self-harm, I mean someone amejikatakata. It's a lot of emotional pain within, but then anataka to feel your pain even physically. So especially the young people, a lot of them, they are doing a lot of body harm. Amejikatakata, mwingine amejichoma with a hot wire. It's very painful, but as they experience the physical pain, it's equating to their emotional pain.
Does it relieve the inner pain?
It doesn't. It's not a solution. It's just a very negative coping mechanism. Because at the moment you're feeling the physical pain, you're trying to tune your mind to tell yourself, like, the emotional pain I am feeling, it is equated to the physical pain, but not necessarily a solution to the emotional pain that someone is going through. So committing suicide so that the other person can feel your pain is not really a solution. And like I was thinking, also we have these parents, especially mothers, who once they are overwhelmed by issues of life, they go ahead and even kill their children. Kill their children and commit themselves they commit suicide.
Because we've had so many cases of such. Unapata, especially the mothers. Rarely would you find mama amejiua na akaacha watoto. Unapata kwamba ameua watoto kwanza, alafu
kisha amejiua.
What is the relationship?
Two things. One, it could be the emotional pain this mother is going through could be attached or associated in a way to the children. One, let's say for example, someone doesn't have the capacity to provide for these children. So the mother feels, my children are suffering. She's associating the emotional pain or the emotional, overwhelming this lady is going through to the lack of or inability to make the children happy. So the mother is like, I would rather eliminate them. Niwapunguzie mateso. Ama hata nikienda mimi nikiwaacha wataangaliwa na nani. It's a very irrational way of thinking. But remember, like I said, as a foundation is that any person who has suicidal thoughts, it is because their way of thinking, their moods, their thoughts and their behavior, they are very irrational.
They are sick.
They are sick. They are very irrational. Ni wagonjwa.
All right. So we've though hapo ulikuwa umeongelelea myth, labda utusaidie kuelewa, what are we supposed to tackle this? Wakati ambapo najua kwamba tuseme kakangu ama dadangu ama neighbor ama rafiki yuko na haya mawazo. Huyu jamaa anafikiria kujitoa uhai. Hata labda shaijaribu, amejaribu mara moja, mara mbili. How are we going to deal with this? Because when we were growing up, tulikuwa tunaambiwa mtu akikwambia anataka kujinyonga, chukua ile kamba umpatie, umuulize unataka kujinyonga kwa mti gani. Uende umsaidie kufunga ile kamba pale. And then the outcome tulikuwa tunaambiwa kwamba that person may not end up taking his life. That was then when we were very young, when we were growing up. But how do we handle these guys ambao sasa unajua kabisa huyu jamaa anataka kujiua?
Good.
Tuwahandle aje? Ama tuendelee kuwapea kamba? Na kuwasaidia kuchanganya sumu. Like the case we had, let me not mention names, of the husband ambaye wife alimwambia unajua nitakunywa sumu, alafu anakaa pale anamrecord. Kunywa sumu anakoroga, alafu anaitana leta maziwa.
Leta maziwa.
Yes.
I remember the case.
Yes. Without mentioning names.
True.
Yeah. I watched that video and I saw myself back then when we were being told msaidie kamba and utafute the strongest umpatie umfungie juu. How do we handle this?
Great. A very good and a pertinent question.
Yeah.
Because like we are saying, suicide is preventable.
Okay.
And we all have a mandate to pull the needle before it pricks the balloon.
Yeah.
That is why we are all called to come in between a suicidal ideation or a suicidal person and the actual death. Here we have to interrupt and to intervene to block this particular action of mtu akona haya mawazo asifikie pale. So this is where we are now, here in between.
Okay.
Very good and very important, especially to create this awareness and this knowledge out there. I would say it is not cast on stone because again, suicide has a spectrum. By a spectrum, I mean it has a varying degree of the risk and of the danger. Actually, going into details, it has 5 spectrums.
Okay.
So vile tunavyo treat mtu inategemea ako katika spectrum gani, kiwango kipi, Kiswahili, kiwango kipi.
Okay.
Spectrum ya kwanza, just to highlight so that as I tackle on how to deal with every person, because it is dependent with where someone is. Utapata huyu ako spectrum ya kwanza ni kile kiwango ambacho ako na yale mawazo. Ako tu na hayo mawazo, lakini hajafikiria ninaweza fanya aje, how can I do about it? But because of the overwhelming issues of life, this person has those thoughts of, by the way, nimeanza kuchoka na maisha. And actually these are the statements you hear them uttering. I am so tired. Life haina maana. Nimechoka. I'm better off gone than here. Such statements. So this one is very easy to deal with such a person, and maybe I will handle it one by one as we go per spectrum. If you encounter someone who is there, we are required to show them a lot of empathy, upendo mwingi, and a lot of compassion, and try to understand without judging. Actually, all across, if you come through a suicidal person, you ought to be very non-judgmental. Because the moment you bring in judgment na uanze kumuonyesha wewe umekuwa wewe hata ujiwezi, then we have killed them. So in the first spectrum where it is just a thought, that is easy to handle because you will encourage this person, tell them, remind them about their purpose, remind them that there is still hope, God is there. Such words will bring this person back to a reality. It will move them from the irrational to rational. Number 2, refer them to a support system. Refer them to a support system so that they can get the professional help that they need. But la muhimu hapo kwa hiyo spectrum ya kwanza, kwa sababu huyu mtu tu ni maissues za life. Amesukumwa ni changamoto tu. But hajafika ile ya kuthink through. So it's not a risky stage per se, because we all find, actually majority of human beings, we will find ourselves there at one point in life. You will feel as if, why am I on earth? So bringing that person back to their purpose alleviates the desire to go the suicidal way. That is the first spectrum. The next one now from here, tunaenda kwa active suicidal ideation without a plan. Active. The first one, sometimes we refer to it as passive. It's just those overwhelming feelings, but it's not activated within someone. It's very passive. It's very silent. But now when we move to the next level number 2, you have those active ideations, but you don't have a plan. Huyu mtu utasikia akisema, me by the way, I think siwezi mind kutoka, why am I on earth? What am I doing? Such, it's active. Even some go to an extent, Sele, of saying, I want to die, but I don't know how. Or you will hear them really interested in how people can die, how can I, they are very interested in gathering such info. Exactly. Mito gani, kamba zinauzwa wapi, such questions, but still they don't have a plan. So for that one, we say still it's not a very risky stage. It's not risky, but if it's not attended to, then it has potential to become very risky. Because if the ideations are not dealt with, then such people, they tend now to move to the next stage. So the goal of every stage is to come in between and prevent and offer techniques of how to help someone not move to the next stage. So in that stage, it is to try find out what is affecting you, why are you feeling like this? Again, being very non-judgmental. Non-judgmental cuts across. Number 2, keep closely in touch with this person. You could ask them questions like, the other time I checked on you, you are a bit overwhelmed. How is it now? Tomorrow, call this person. Get to be with them. And especially more the ministry of presence. When you are around them, offering that support and that comfort, it feels that all is not lost. Oh, I have people who care. That care. So still, it's not a very risky stage. From that step, we move to the active suicidal ideation with a plan. Hapa unapata hata amenunua kamba.
Akona plan.
Akona plan. Ana time hivi jioni giza ingie. Ajue what to do. So that is a risky stage. Quite risky, because now we have to arise and even try, don't leave this person alone. Do not leave this person alone, because you see they have the potential to do what they want at any time. And this is where you ask for help immediately. Here, you don't assure them of confidentiality. In the first 2 stages, you can tell them, I'm available, I'm here to help you, and this I can keep between me and you. And if they are willing, you can refer them to further help. But this one, at least you have a consultation. But now when it comes to this stage 3, where it is an active suicidal ideation with a plan, this one you have to report. Either you call authorities or now, and you tell these people now, here, I cannot keep confidentiality anymore. I have to break it and seek for help. After that, now it moves to the suicidal intent. Here, it requires a lot of sensitivity, active listening, and a lot of being alert, because this is a case, like a case in point, and it cuts a very thin line between the intent and to attempt. This is where you will find someone ndio amefunga kamba and kokaribu kuhook the neck. This is where you'll find someone on the floor of a 13th floor, and contemplate kuruka. So you have to be very alert and very careful. It's a very risky. This is now very risky. So you have to really now negotiate. Hii sasa unapembeleza. You see, step number 3, you are like a bit confrontational. You are telling them, this one I have to report, this one I have to. But now this one, unapembeleza hadi unapembeleza huyu mtu. Zile za, oh please, now, so that you can calm the situation and they can get out of the danger zone fast, or whatever action they are ready to take. Then you will find those now attempts. People who have attempted quite several. You will see someone has dived into the swimming pool, into the river. Now they've already attempted, but they are not yet dead. So it's a rescue mission. And this one, you cannot live there. You have to be there, call for help. And again, try to negotiate with the person really much.
And how come, unakumbuka ile statement nimekwambia kwamba tulikuwa tunaambiwa mpatie kamba aenda jiue? How come those days you will tell someone like that, alafu huyo mtu ana, you know, it's like it was a way of telling him, you don't need to do this, but then in the most cruel way. How come it used to work? Ama is it just my thinking?
It is. Thank you so much, Sele, for that. That particular statement is very psychological in nature.
Okay.
Remember, the moment you have asked this person, nikusaidie kiaje? Actually, in counseling, we say, ask directly about the suicide. Ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? Something like that. Do you have to take away your life? Ask such direct questions. What this does, because of its psychological nature, it sends a trigger to this person. It's a message. It's a communication. Na huyo mtu ndio anakam to their aha moment. So it's like creating a reality indirectly in this person's consciousness. And so this person comes back to their awareness, to the rationality of life now. So it is a very psychological in nature statement. Especially if it has not gone up to the 5th stage. Because at the 5th stage, they are already in the act. But the first 4 stages, these particular statements works very well, especially stage number 3, where they have a plan. They have a plan. So they might even feel...
So you use his plan.
You use his plan to counter... You use his plan to counter his action. It's a very psychological in nature statement, especially stage 3. Works very well.
Lakini wana Gen Z usiwafanyie hii. When a Gen Z, if you give them the camera, they will surely go and hang themselves, you know. And so, samahani, so pia unaangalia ujue, who are you dealing with? If I stand to be corrected.
Very true.
Kwa sababu there's someone utaambia, unataka sumu shika enda atachukua na akunywe, you know, in your presence. And then you'll stand accountable before the law, kwamba you witnessed, you collaborated, you know, you were there when that was happening. So you also look at who are you dealing with and to what extent is that.
Sure, very true. And like we said, the Gen Zs are it's a different kind of a generation, a people. But shocking news is that statistics have it that the largest number of suicide is actually falling within that category, from 14 years to 24, 25 years of age, basically.
What could be the reason? Because if it's about financial challenges, even us who are before them are within the same. And most of those people, most of 14, 15, 16, bado hawajaanza kujitegemea, you know, the burden is still on the parents, so they cannot like stand out or seme nilikuwa financially overburdened, bado wako shule, the school fees is being paid for them. What could be promoting this katika your generation, that age group?
Part of the research is coming out to, it's a very digital generation. Unlike the previous generations. So they are exposed to so much. And so with the exposure, there is also a lot of peer pressure and a lot of societal pressure from what they are seeing from their peers. Secondly, at the touch of a button, they are able to discover many ways of how they can, suicide can be committed. Unlike maybe in the past generations where you had only limited to a few options. And the societal pressure. And also, there is a debate that this generation is not very resilient to withstand some of the difficult challenges. You see, looking at the old generations, you'll say, people were hardened, for lack of a better word. People are very hardened. But these particular generations of the Gen Zs, they are very... Not very soft. Very soft.
And then we used to work for what we wanted. We would work for what we wanted. Unashinda na mama kwa shamba ili akikuja nyumbani ama akienda kutembea. You know, our mothers, I don't know if your mother used to behave like my mom, and I know she's watching, you know. Our mom, kila wakati alikuwa anaenda sherehe. Sisi tulikuwa tunajua kama ni mandazi we going to eat, you know. And every time she would come home anasema nimewaletea mandazi because you've been good children, you know. Mulifanya hii, mulifanya hii. So every time, it was a reward. So every time we will do even better knowing that, oh, madhe atakapochomoka hapa tunaletewa kakitu. So we were taught to work for what we wanted. And that's why today, I think we've built the stamina. Unless otherwise, most of the previous generation unapata ni watu wamebuild stamina.
Kabisa.
Job ikiisha wanatafuta njia mbadala hapa na pale, and they are able to survive. And I don't know why we were not able to relay the same to our generation.
I would say times are changing. Life is dynamic. Advancements all around. And so we have to change with the changes that are coming forth. Actually, that is what I'm telling the older generations. Life is dynamic.
We have to change.
We have to keep changing and adjusting to the changing times. So it's a menace that we have to face and learn how to cope. As life is changing, the thing is, I desire if we could be prepared to change with it and devise working coping mechanisms around it. But now you'll find the older generations, they are still adamant, not ready to change with the change. And this is where it's bringing the disconnect between the current generation and the older generation. But the bottom line is, life is dynamic. Life will keep changing.
We've had suicidal cases kwa watoto wachanga sana.
Yes.
Wenye wako chini ya 14 years. The other day, tulikuwa na a 7-year-old girl, kasichana kadogo sana, kalijinyonga. You know, and no one knows why she did that. And then yesterday, I think it's yesterday, I was reading about a young boy, 12 years, ambaye alitoka kwao akaenda ujombani, then the uncle returns him home. So this guy comes and aka-apologize, akaomba msamaha, I'm sorry. Alafu, wakapata amejinyonga kwa bafu. What could be promoting this suicide in very young generation? Hawa watoto wadogo ambao maybe they may not be able to express themselves, tuweze kuwa categorize katika vile vitengo ambavyo tumeangazia. Mtoto wa miaka 6, mtoto mdogo, grade ya kwanza huyo, mtoto wa miaka 7, watoto wadogo sana, they are not even able to express themselves. What could be promoting and pushing them into doing this?
So in my opinion, two things. One, it's the childhood experiences and the environment where these children are growing up from. Utapata, if this child has observed or experienced such acts in their family or in the environment that they've grown up with, then they will be predisposed to know this is the way of life. Secondly, children, they do as you do and not as you say. A child is monkey see, monkey do.
True.
So some of them have been exposed to such scenes or to such scenarios. So they end up feeling, this is too much, and I saw so and so do this. Probably they saw someone hanging, and the other thing for us adults is that we really undermine the children. These children, they are becoming very wise and very exposed to so many at a very young age, which sometimes we underestimate. So you will find probably they are watching some things on the screens, on the media and all that, and they can see. Even in the community, whenever there is a scene of someone hanging up there, a children as young as 2 years old, they will come see and observe, and that image sticks with them in their mind. So when they feel challenged or something is not working up, they just, this is the route, this is the way, this is the route.
Sometimes they are trying it.
Sometimes they are also trying to see. It's an experimentation. Many factors around it.
Wow. Jose Mkorino unasema tuko pamoja sana ndani ya nyumba. Asante. Romano unasema may God see me through, I'm going through a lot. Romano Caroline, utakuwa tunapeana namba ya mshauri. Ile ambayo unasema kwamba you are going through a lot, you need to share it with someone. You need to talk to someone. You need to pour it out to someone. Na by the way, kuna washauri wengi sana who are willing to help. Unajua mara nyingi huwa tunaogopa, tunasema these guys are expensive. There are washauri huku nje who are willing to just talk to you. You know, they just want to talk to you and make sure that you are not getting to that extreme ambayo tunazungumzia asubuhi ya leo. So, Romano, whatever you're going through, of course, there is a God who is all powerful. There's a God who is a game changer, a transformative Father. He's able to do more than this, but again, it's always good to speak about it. And that's why at some time katika Biblia, I don't want to preach God anasema njoni tusemezane. Why do you think God calls for that? Kwa sababu anataka you pour out your heart. Umwambie je, God, mimi sikuona ka ulifanya poa. Hapo God, mimi nilitarajia napata hiyo job. Alafu yule mse mwingine akapata, mimi sikupata. I don't think God you did good. And he will communicate to you as a father. He will give you that peace that you need. So it is the same case hata na sisi that we need to learn. Cultivate an attitude of talking about issues. Tuache kunyenyamazia. If you do not trust someone, get someone else to trust, someone else to talk to, or even Unaweza zungumza ukatumia kama mfano ukasema, jamani, kuna rafiki yangu mwingine hapo, imagine anapitia hivi alisema hivi. Mshauri atakupa ushauri na wewe mwenyewe unajua kabisa hiyo ni yako. And then Miriam Wanjiku unasema good job Mary, uko ndani ya nyumba. Elijah Kimani wa Kandara unasema you're watching kutoka Kandara Mranga. Ni saa 2:53 ndani ya nyumba. Naona masaa yetu yamekataa. Sijui tuvuke twende kwa prevention in 1-2 minutes, then the parting shot can come.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, we all have a task and an assignment to prevent.
Yeah.
And suicide is preventable. And so it is our task and our mandate for all of us to remove the needle before the balloon is pricked.
Yeah.
Because the moment the balloon is pricked, then itapasuka. And life is very precious. So creating awareness, like what we are doing, it's very important. It's just a way of preventing, because sometimes people don't do things for lack of information ama lack of knowledge. Mtu hajui nitafanya aje, hata akifanya anafanya the wrong thing. So being knowledgeable and creating all this awareness is very important. Number 2, it is removing the stigma around suicide. It's a disease, like we said, like any other, when you find someone has been pushed to such a corner.
Yeah.
So to prevent a lot of these suicide cases is to treat it as any other disease and remove the stigma that is associated with it. Number 3, it is being open to talk, speak, talk to a professional. Let us embrace mental health, because mental health is associated as the highest factor of leading to suicide. Actually, a research was done and it was like mental concern. 90% of suicide cases are linked to mental challenges. So embracing mental health and taking it with a lot of weight, it is one way of preventing people from getting to the suicidal zone. Very, very important. And then it's offering support. In case we realize that someone is going through a difficult challenge, how do we realize this? By change of behavior, by listening to such statements that they make, nimechoka na maisha, just having an extra concern and being our brothers and our sisters keeper, it's very, very helpful. And also avoiding to trivialize suicidal thoughts or suicidal ideations. In our culture, people have really trivializing, anadunisha yale mawazo.
Hayana uzito, hayachukulina uzito.
Unaambiwa, you're just seeking attention. Someone else will come and tell you, but you have everything. You have everything that is needed.
Yeah, nini hauna.
Nini hauna.
Yes.
You know, such words, they tend to push someone further in the spectrum. You find anasukumwa tu kule mwisho. And remember, we said that this person is not able to think rationally. So they are not seeing things from your point of view, you who is healthy, you who is mentally stable. And another thing is bringing in too much religion and spirituality around it. You see, in our churches or in our spiritual places of worship, things have been portrayed to mean like you are okay, you can get everything you need in God, or such high expectations have been set. And so you'll find like it's a taboo when you are not aligned to what is being said. So people are really suffering silently inside of them without wanting to come up, because they will be termed either as less spiritual, less prayerful.
A piece of Christ surpasses every human understanding.
Exactly. And a lot of preaching around it.
Which is very true, yes.
Which is true. But when someone has been found in a situation, Sele, I always say that we are in these worlds. And being born again, yes, it is an advantage that we have in Christ. But the issues and the challenges of this world, we will still face them. But the difference, we deal with it physically. The physical, we deal with it physically. There is a spiritual place, because we who know Christ, we may not deal with these issues like someone who doesn't know. I will get down on my knees and I will pray, and I know God will hear. But there are some physical challenges that are common to man. There are spaces that are common to man. As long as someone is a human being, there are things that are common, whether you're born again or you're not, due to the fact that we are all human and flesh and blood. You get? Yeah. So it is to accept that fact, so that we stop living in denial of some things that are naturally human. And I emphasize it's those things that are naturally human.
And that's why we've had cases za watumishi wachungaji ambao wanajitoa uhai, alafu anajiuliza how come na yeye anatuhubiria, anatupa matumaini kwa sababu yeye alikuwa anasimama anatupa matumaini, lakini hana mtu wa kumsaidia kubeba mzigo wake.
Ama aliishi na ile denial ya yeye ni superhuman because yeye ni mtumishi. That living in that denial space is what pushes someone to there.
All right. So you're parting short. Naona niko na sekunde. Yes, you're parting short.
Oh, all right. I will say like suicide is an irrational decision, but it has a build up to it. So that means there is an unseen death that happens before the physical death occurs. So before it gets to the physical, let us work on reviving this hidden deaths or the silent deaths that have happened. If it is hope, if it is joy, if it is your peace, we revive them before it gets to the physical attempt. And just to close it also, I'd like to leave us with the 3 L's that are a mantra from the World Health Organization. That means, that says, look, listen, and link. Look out to any behavior that is abnormal in someone. Listen non-judgmentally, and link someone who is going through that, or connect yourself to help. So look, listen, and link.
Your number, please.
Yes. My number is 0721 250 557. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. Mwelekezi wangu pole sana, nimekula dakika yako moja hapo. Mungu wa utukufu azidi kutubariki sisi sote. Imekuwa asubuhi nzuri, njema ya baraka. Asubuhi tumeangazia masuala ambayo yafaa tuyashughulikie kuhakikisha kwamba tunadhibitisha akili zetu ama afya akili zetu. Alafu tumekamilisha kile kitengo kwa kuangazia swala hili la watu kujitoa uhai na jinsi ambavyo tunaweza hakikisha kwamba tunazuia. Na najua hata tujazungumzia yote kwa sababu umeona nimemharakisha sana, nimekatisha mambo mengi, lakini angalau kwa yale ambayo tumeweza kuyazungumzia asubuhi ya leo, saidia mwenzako. Wakati ambapo unahisi yale mawazo, jua kwamba kuna msaada na kwamba hakuna tatizo ambalo halina suluhisho. Na wewe kujiua si suluhisho, kwa sababu hata katika kifo unakufa na huo uchungu wako. Na wale tunaobaki tutakukosa ndio, tutahisi lile pengo ndio, lakini ule uchungu uliokuwa nao sisi hatuwezi tukauhisi, lakini lipo suluhisho kwako. Asante sana kwa kuwa pamoja nasi kutoka Jumatatu. Leo ni Alhamisi. Asante wenzangu ambao wamefanikisha kipindi cha leo. May the Lord bless you and do you well. Tupatane siku ya Jumatatu. Kesho mtakuwa na kakangu mchungaji ndani ya Ijumaa Njema. Ukiwa na maoni au tetesi zozote kuhusu vipindi vyetu, tujuze kupitia kwa ujumbe mfupi kwa 0742524973 0742524973 na pia